This is Samsung's brand new Galaxy Z Fold 7, and I really wanted to love this phone. Especially since I've purchased every Fold and used them as my daily drivers since the Fold 2. But this time, Samsung may have cut a bit too much for the sake of slimness. And even with my exclusive discount and the massive pre-order deals going on right now that I have linked in the description and a pinned comment, there are a few things you need to know before you spend your hard-earned cash on this device. Now, Samsung does deserve credit where credit's due because there are some genuinely impressive updates with the Fold 7. Like, just the thinness alone compared to the Fold 6 is ridiculous. It's over a 25% reduction in size, and you can clearly see that here. And compared to the Galaxy S25 Ultra, it's almost the exact same thickness. Like, it's really hard to tell that the Fold 7 is just marginally thicker than that device. And if you open up the Fold 7 and compare it to the Galaxy S25 Edge, which is Samsung's thinnest smartphone by a significant margin, like that's its whole shtick, is being super thin, the Fold 7 makes it look like a brick by comparison. And when I saw how thin the Fold 7 was, I was expecting a reduction in battery size like we had when Samsung made the ultra-thin S25 Edge. But fortunately, Samsung was able to keep the same 4400 mAh capacity as we had with the Fold 6. And this screen size bump on the Fold 7, like, finally, this is something I've been asking for pretty much every time I talk about a Fold device. I'm like, yes, it's a slightly bigger screen generation to generation, but we still need something significantly wider to be able to comfortably use. The Fold 7 finally makes the screen wide enough to actually be able to use comfortably like a traditional style phone. Like, that really matters. If you've used a Fold before, you know how significant that is. And that larger outer screen translates to a larger inner screen, specifically an 8-inch screen, which is pretty solidly into small tablet territory. This makes split screen apps a whole lot easier to use because you can really fill out both sides of the screen and see all the content without having it be just a little bit too small. And even just multi-window in general is going to be a lot better on this device if you have like pop-up windows and stuff. And gaming's obviously going to be more immersive too. And speaking of gaming, Samsung also added the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, which is the chip we had in the Galaxy S25 Ultra. So that's going to obviously improve performance and also efficiency as well. So even though we have the same battery size, we have that more efficient processor, which should help improve battery life. But also remember, we have a larger screen, so that'll kind of probably even it out. If I had to guess, I'd say that the Fold 7 is going to have similar battery life to the Fold 6. If not, maybe slightly less depending on the optimizations they did because of that difference in screen size. But I won't know for sure until I get my Fold 7 and I do my full deep dive review, so stay tuned for that. Now, despite the significantly larger screen on the Fold 7 compared to the Fold 6, because of how thin Samsung made the device, they were able to reduce the weight to 215 grams, which is actually slightly lighter than the Galaxy S25 Ultra. And this addresses one of the biggest complaints that I've heard from a lot of people who've actually owned Fold devices, and it's that the phone was just so heavy in their pocket. Like if they're in gym shorts or something, it feels like it's just dragging the pocket down, and so they just didn't use Fold devices because of that reason. So now having it weigh less than Samsung's S25 Ultra, that's going to make it a whole lot more pocketable for people, and I think a lot more people are going to start moving back to the Fold because of that. The Fold 7 also has the first crease reduction. The Fold 7 also now has the first crease reduction that is actually significant generation to generation. And it's because it's a much wider crease now, and the valley is just not as steep and not as deep. Like, this is actually a noticeable improvement. That said, if you've ever owned a Fold device, you'd know that when you use it with the screen open, you never actually run your fingers, or very rarely run your fingers across the center, so you never actually touch the crease anyway. But the good news is that now when you do run your finger across the crease, it should be significantly less noticeable. So we've talked about a lot of the great features on the Fold 7, but there's one issue that the previous Folds had that was a massive issue, and it's something that I would always tell people, hey, you probably don't want to Fold because of this problem. And the problem was the cameras. Now, the cameras on the previous generations, including the Fold 6, were just okay. There weren't that great of cameras, especially when you compare them to like the S25 Ultra, the S24 Ultra series that was released when the Fold 6 was. Those cameras are way better than the cameras on the Fold series, and they always have been. And so whenever I would talk to people about whether or not they should get a Fold, I'd say, well, do you want to get a lot of pictures of your kids or your family? Like, is that important to you? If they say yes, I say, don't get a Fold. Get one of the S series devices, get an S Ultra device if you can, because that's going to get you way better pictures than you can ever get out of the Fold. Well, this year, Samsung is finally fixing that after way too many generations, and they are putting the 200 megapixel sensor camera from the S25 Ultra into the Fold 7. So that means we can expect S25 Ultra camera quality for the 1x to 2x zoom range. Samsung also added autofocus onto the Fold 7's 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. And what this does is allow you to get really good macro photos, something that just wasn't possible on previous generations of the Fold. Unfortunately, the 3x telephoto camera does stay the same at 10 megapixels. But regardless, this is still a massive step forward, and I can finally recommend foldable devices to people who actually want to get good pictures too. And besides those camera updates, Samsung has also enabled HDR video recording by default on the Fold 7. Now, simply put, HDR just gives you more detail in the really bright and dark areas of a video, and you basically just get a wider range of brightness, and you also get more colors as well. And the difference, if you guys have seen my other camera comparisons on the S25 Ultra when I did that video, you'd know it does make a really big difference. But it's not technically a new feature because you could enable HDR video on the Fold 6 in the settings. Regardless, it's nice to see that Samsung's improved it enough that they can now enable it by default. The main display camera also gets swapped with what I believe is the same 10 megapixel sensor that's on the cover display. And the difference between this 10 megapixel sensor and the 4 megapixel sensor that was on the Fold 6 and older Folds is, oh man, it's night and day. Just look at this comparison right here. But not only do you get a big difference in image quality, but it's also a wider angle. So you can get up to a 100-degree photo, so you can fit more people in it if you're getting like a group selfie, versus the 85-degree maximum width you had on the Fold 6. And you also get way more camera modes with this new camera as well. Like as you can see here, you can get portrait mode, and then you also get the more section with all of those other camera modes on the main display camera. On previous generation Folds, you just had photo and video mode, and that's it. But this huge camera improvement on the main display does come with a significant trade-off, and it's that it's no longer an under-display camera. So what that means is, like on the Fold 6, if you look here, there's a camera right there, but you can't see it because it's under the display. But if I were to jump into the camera app, you'd be able to actually see that hole. So that hiding behind the display is completely gone on the Fold 7. Personally, I think this is the right trade-off because there have been times where I've been using my Fold open on the main display and I want to get a quick selfie with the family, but then I go to take the picture with the main display and I was like, oh, that's a garbage looking photo. So then I'd have to close it and then take the picture again on the cover display because obviously that's the 10 megapixel camera, much better. The other benefit to this is conference calls. So if you ever do conference calls, you could just have your phone in flex mode and do the conference call like that. You'll have a lot more screen real estate. Technically, you can do the conference calls on the cover display and have it tilted up like this and do that as well. That's possible, but you just don't get as much screen real estate here. But let me know if you guys think it's worth the trade-off in the comments down below. While we're talking about the cameras, the Gallery app also gets a significant improvement as well. Specifically, I'm talking about the AI editing features. I just grabbed a random photo and tried to remove these two people from it, and it worked remarkably well. Like Samsung's always had really good AI when it comes to removing things and generating a new background behind them. But this is one of the best versions of this I've seen. And if you tap this button to compare the before and after, you now get to see them both side by side. Previously, this just wasn't possible. And when you pinch to zoom, it actually zooms in on both images so you can see exactly what changed. And as you can see, as I scroll around here, like it's truly impressive. Samsung is way ahead of Apple when it comes to this kind of stuff. If you've ever seen a video where Apple tries to remove something from the background, it's usually pretty terrible. Apple is still like 5 years behind Samsung when it comes to this AI generation stuff. If all of this makes you immediately want to buy a Fold 7, especially with my exclusive $50 discount link in the description and pinned comment and the pre-order deals that are going on right now, you might want to hold that thought for a minute because there's some slightly bad news and some really bad news with the Fold 7 that might make you want to cancel that pre-order. A smaller issue is that we're still stuck with 25-watt fast wired charging. fast wired charging. We've got other manufacturers who are here at like, what, 100 watt charging? They charge crazy fast by comparison. And I just think it's because Samsung, I think it was the Note 7, they had the issue where the batteries were like blowing up and catching fire. I think it was like a fast charge issue or something like that they were doing. Like they went to like 45 or something watts for the first time, and it was a complete disaster. They had to recall the entire line, and they didn't release a Note series that year because of the issue. So part of me thinks Samsung's just really cautious with charge speeds, specifically because of that. But it's been a while, so they've got to start to catch up with the competition. A slightly bigger issue is that there's no anti-reflective coating on either the cover screen or main display on the Fold 7. This is something that's available on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, and in this side-by-side comparison, you can see that the anti-reflective coating does a great job of knocking down reflections on the S25 Ultra. And this is particularly useful on bright sunny days when you're trying to use your phone outside. That said, the Fold 7 screen does still get incredibly bright. I wasn't able to get the exact specs, but I'm gonna guess somewhere around 2400 nits or 2600 nits, which is gonna be bright enough for most outdoor conditions. But now we need to talk about the biggest issue, and it's the reason why I can't just wholeheartedly say to immediately go buy the Fold 7 because it's a super awesome device, because up until this point, absolutely, that would have been my recommendation. Even if you're coming from a Fold 6, you would have loved it. It's super awesome, highly recommended based on the time that I've had with it. But this specific problem is really big. It doesn't support the S Pen. Now, this is an incredibly powerful tool. I just uploaded a video showing a ton of really useful, really practical features that the S Pen has on the S25 Ultra, and all of those features would have been available on the Fold 7 if Samsung had S Pen support. And they did confirm that not only can you not use the old S Pens from like the Fold 6 and older generations, but they will not be making one that's going to work with it in the future either. And it's because they had to remove the digitizer in the screen in order to get the phone that thin. And that is a massive trade-off in my personal opinion. Now, if you haven't seen my video, you think the S Pen is just a novelty, please go watch that S25 Ultra video and see all the things you can do with it. And you'd be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna cancel my Fold 7 pre-order because wow, that's powerful. And I would have preferred to have a slightly thicker device with S Pen compatibility than to have just gotten it as thin as the S25 Ultra. And maybe I stand alone in that, and let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this. So my recommendation for the Fold 7 is a bit more complicated. If you know what the S Pen is all about, and you know what, some cool features, but I'm not really gonna use them all the time, then yes, the Fold 7 is 100% worth the upgrade. The thing literally feels like holding the future. It is amazing. Even if you don't get one, go into like a Best Buy or something and just hold one, play with it for a little bit. It's a really cool device to use. But if you're someone who uses the S Pen frequently and you don't want to give that up, then maybe get something like a Fold 6, which does have that S Pen support. Sure, you're not going to get all the great cameras and the bigger screen and everything else we talked about, but at least you'll get that S Pen support. And if you're someone who's on the fence and you're not too sure if you're gonna use the S Pen or not, check out that S25 Ultra video by clicking the card that's popping out above. And then by the end of that, you'll know for sure if you're gonna use this or not. And if you don't care for the S Pen and you just wanna get that big savings on the Fold 7, you can come back to this video, click those links in the description and pinned comment, save yourself a ton of money. By the way, those are affiliate links, and it's how I can even afford to purchase all these devices to review in the first place. Most of my income actually comes from those affiliate links. So huge thank you to all of you who use those affiliate links, because I literally wouldn't be able to do any of this without you guys using those links. So huge thanks to you guys. If you guys want to see how the brand new Galaxy Watch 8 Classic compares to the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, you can check out this video here. And I'll have an update to my Fold 7 impressions, and when that's ready, that'll be somewhere around here. That's it for this tech episode, guys. Jesus loves you, and I'll catch you in the next one very soon.